So I don't know if it's just me, but every single time I sit down and look at YouTube these days, I get hit with a new 17-year-old trying to tell me to become a growth operator, a growth partner, partner, an AI infrastructure passive income automation partner, or just some bullshit really. So I thought, as someone who's been in this space for a while, I've done a little bit of this sort of growth operatory stuff. I thought I'd weigh in and just give my opinion and just yap a little bit because, I think I have something to say. Because basically throughout 2023, I was a sort of like a head of growth type role, where what I would do is handle basically all the revenue generating tasks for a business, sometimes B2B, whether it be an agency or a software, or sometimes B2C, so sometimes like the typical coaching program style thing. Which sounds fun, but when you're doing it the wrong way, which I was for a really long time, it's not as fun and it leads to reduced results. So, for example, when you're focusing on 5 to 10 offers at once, or even if it's 2 to 3, personally, I was never able to achieve the same level of results that I was by, just focusing on one thing. Maybe that might be a skill issue from me. Maybe I just didn't have the hiring skill or the ability to form departments. It was just me as a solo founder, so maybe I'll cope a little bit that way. But what I found was that when I was launching all these offers at once, it sort of just detracted from each of them, and it didn't really lead to the most optimal results for each of the clients, to be honest. So for example, I launched a coaching offer at about 40K cash in 14 days. We did an email marketing agency from 10K a month to 50K a month. We did a content agency from about like 15K a month to 100K a month. We did a short form content agency to 20K a month from zero. We did a paid ads agency from 100 to 130K a month. We did a SaaS to their first sort of couple of dozen users in about 60 days ish. We had an email marketing agency that was booking about 40 calls a month and slinging about 6-7 clients per month in the first 30 days. And I've also consulted like 100 plus agencies at the same time. And this is all throughout an 8-month period in 2023. And the main thing, the number one thing that I learned was that if I had just done one of these things, even, especially the ones that were going better and getting way better results, if I had just done one of those things, you don't even know what the type of results we could have been getting. But because I was so intent on just kind of having my fingers in all these different pies and my eggs in all these different baskets, it kind of, obviously it hurts the client because number one, they're not getting you fully focused, and it also hurts you because you're kind of spread too thin across all these things. And of course, you can hire and you can bring in departments and you can bring people in. But like I said, at the time when you're sort of just getting off the ground and you're getting things rolling, it doesn't always make, like, you don't always have that ability. Like, sometimes you just have a personal bottleneck. I know I did. I hired quite a few people and wasn't able to train them properly. But it's really difficult to do that when you're first starting out. And then you compare that to, as soon as I focus on one thing, we launched 1000X Leads, which is effectively me being a growth operator or something like that. It's basically more or less the same thing, just for my own company. And we scaled to 135 high ticket clients in 60 days. So that's very, very different to the results from before. And you're just focusing on one thing. And it's your own product, really. Because really what you want to think about is that the core dilemma is that usually when someone's really excited to give you a fat rev share, it's typically because their business sucks and it's going to end up being like a rescue mission, where you're basically required to do like a ridiculous amount of work to get your rev share up. So obviously you want your rev share to be fat. So you're going to, do the work, even if it's not always exactly what you're meant to be doing. It might be, this thing over here, this operational thing, or this hire is really holding us up, and my rev share depends on it. So you really want to get that stuff done. But in reality, that is also the thing that's going to stop you from scaling because you're dealing with these bad clients. And like, kind of realistically, if you're a beginner and you don't have a big track record plus proof, it's almost inevitable that you're going to get those bad clients, and you're going to hear things a lot like, bro, if this works out, the case study's going to be massive. We'll be your biggest fans. And, man, if you can solve this, we'll give you any rev share we'll give you equity, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, if you can solve it. And that's basically just what you'd like to call a bad client. So again, maybe that's my skill issue for not being able to identify that from the start. But yeah, it's just something to be really aware of. You have to be really aware of. If you're going to do this or not, you have to be really aware of that. Because typically, if you want to demand a good rev share to a solid business, like if you want a rev share from a business that's really established and a solid business, or someone who knows what they're doing, you're going to need a great track record, and you're probably going to want some specialist knowledge as well that would make you very, very hard to replace. Because, for example, if you're an expert copywriter and no one can get results even close to your results, you can demand whatever price you want. It doesn't really matter what price you charge because you're the only one that can do it, because you have that specific industry knowledge. The problem here with growth operating is that you demand a big rev share as a beginner which is kind of bad deal if the client kind of knows what they're doing and they're thinking, who's this? It's a young kid. They probably don't know what they're doing. I don't want to risk my brand and my audience with that kid who probably doesn't even know what they're doing. And the other thing is that as your rev share gets higher, let's say you do get someone and all of a sudden you're making 20, 30, 40, 50K a month, that means you can get pretty easily replaced by a few specialist employees. So if you do your job really well as a growth operator, you get to 100K a month. What's to say they can't hire a sales manager that's really, really good with 5-10 years of experience for 15K a month plus percentage of commission, which is what you can hire one for. And you'd get a really decent sales manager for that. Then you can obviously bring in a CMO or whoever you want on the Facebook ad side, Insta, whatever, like content, all that stuff you can kind of just swiftly get replaced because you're the generalist who's really good when you're getting things off the ground and you can kind of just pick up the slack where it needs to be picked up. But as you're scaling up and up and up, you kind of do need that specialist knowledge, and it's also more efficient for the business that way as well. In saying that, you do see some rare cases of someone finding a perfect fit. And in those instances, you kind of see the growth operator being in a really leveraged position where you're almost kind of just thanking your lucky stars that you got this dream client versus the 47 million other people in your exact same position who use the exact same info as you. And that's when you see the best of it. So I'm not on here saying it's the worst thing ever. I think it's actually a really good, it's a really leveraged position if you can make it work. It's a really, really leveraged. And I'll talk about that a bit in a sec. But ideally, I think the way I would do it, and I'm doing it now, is obviously you want to get your initial clients, your initial experience and proof, and you're kind of waiting until you find that golden goose that you can go all in with. So once you have that perfect opportunity vehicle, or not even the perfect one, but once you have a really good opportunity vehicle, I don't think you should be doing anything else, at least for me. That's kind of the way I've approached it. And you should only be focusing on scaling one thing. That's the kind of belief that I've set on myself, and it's proved me it's done me quite well so far. Because when you focus on that one thing, it kind of removes some of the pitfalls I've mentioned. So it's not that hard to do everything if it's just for one offer, because that's basically all you have to do. And you quite literally just have one job and it's just to make it work. But if you're doing that for multiple offers, it can get kind of dicey. And then while you're focusing on that singular offer, you grow your skills, you grow your track record. You don't have to worry as much about focus. You just focus on getting really, really good, which I think if you're a young person anyway, that should be your focus. At least that's my opinion. Then at the end of that, you can be, way richer because you're focused on one thing and you got way better results. And then you also have the case study that's much, much better than if you were spreading yourself too thin. So for example, last year I gathered a bunch of case studies that were all kind of okay. They weren't the best. They could have been better. And that's really what I'm trying to do now, is just focus on that one thing, get a massive, massive result in that one thing rather than some okay results in a bunch of different things. So I guess if you wanted to talk about the problem of the business model at its core, it's that focus. Focus is the number one thing, at least personally, that I learned in 2023. Like I said, we probably could have scaled one of those offers much, much higher if I had focused, but we just didn't. And that's when you live and you learn. The other thing is that if you're kind of a beginner starting out, running one business is hard enough. If you're running 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, it does kind of add up. And at the end of the day, you really have to think, would a smart business owner buy that offer? Would a smart business owner be running to do this? And the answer is typically no for these styles of deals, in my opinion, because the reality is, if you're trying to even do this and you're trying to launch a course and you're trying to crack market message fit, you're doing email flows, you're doing ads, you're doing content, you're doing copy, you're doing sales, all that stuff it's kind of a difficult problem to solve, and there's a lot going on. It requires a little bit of experience. Like, to be honest, the beginner stuff you could do it. You could do it if you were really competent. And again, I'm not saying that you couldn't do it if you were really competent. You do see that. A bunch of guys are doing it right now and crushing. It's just something to note that you want to be aware of this stuff before you jump in, because there is a potential of huge upside if you do it right. So you get a lot of skills in a range of situations. You also probably learn all types of marketing, sales, and ops, which is kind of unique for a beginner vehicle. So you are going to learn a lot. And you also can inherit the leverage of the influencer because obviously they've built up the audience and you're basically just harvesting it for cash, which means you can get cash pretty quickly. It's just about being able to find yourself in those leveraged situations and dodge the landmines, which, to be honest, is the same as anything. Honestly, as I'm going through this, I'm kind of convincing myself that it's a better vehicle than what I thought I was going to do at the start of this video. But I guess the solution would be that if you want to be a growth operator, focus on 100% of your effort on convincing one person to give you a chance, then focus on getting that person the most insane result that you possibly can. 100% of your effort should be getting your skills up and your proof up. Absolutely, unequivocally, skills and proof. That's all you need. I'm not sure if that's already the way the model's applied, but 1,000% should be. If I was going back and I had to be a growth operator, that is exactly what I would do. And to be honest, I would have made way more money if I had have just done that from the start. And also, if you have growth operator style skills, you could probably apply that to any business model, really. So maybe something to think about is maybe go outside the influencer niche and just think about how you can apply the same principles in other areas. Because best case scenario, you find some sort of industry expert and you just own the company. So you can almost just own the company and just do the growth operator stuff as a founder rather than using an influence. And obviously then you don't have the leverage of the audience, but it just means it's a bit harder to start up, and then you can scale from there. Because to be honest, if I was starting from scratch right now, what I would be doing is probably selling a productized service, email marketing, landing pages, ad creatives, Google ads, whatever it may be, just something that has demand all the time that people always buy. And then what I would do is I would just use all the cool marketing stuff I see online and just sell it for do it for my own business. You get a much higher return that way over the long term. And it's just harder to get off the ground initially. So a lot of these things where it's like, hey, you give up a lot of your leverage in the short term, and then long term you lose the upside. I would rather lose my short term upside in favor of the long-term upside. But yeah, that's just my take. Hopefully you guys are still scaling and you're still making money with this anyway. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And yeah, that's just a humble growth operator's opinion on that topic. And yeah, hopefully this was valuable, and I'll see you in the next video.